Hey friends, family, world, Luke here with another video. For those of you who are new to our channel, my husband Tyler and I make weekly travel videos about the different places that we visit since having moved from North America to Europe, and more specifically Belfast, Northern Ireland. So if you haven't checked out any of our videos, be sure to have a look. Today I'm going to talk about some of the things that we've loved since moving here. And in all fairness, we're going to be making another video about some of the things that we have not loved as much or haven't gotten used to as much since moving here, so that you can hear both sides of the story, because at the end of the day, no place is perfect, but most places have something to offer as well. Today, I'm going to focus on the positives, and I'm going to talk about some of the things that we have loved about Belfast. Some of these are specific to Belfast or to Northern Ireland. Some of them are a bit more general and could relate to either the UK or Ireland as a whole, or some of them are really general and are just about life in Europe. So take from them what you will. Let's start with the number one thing that we've loved about living here, and that is the ease and price of traveling around Europe. In all fairness, this was probably our number one reason for deciding to move to the UK, in that we are really passionate about travel and wanted to have the opportunity to travel as easily and cheaply to as many different places in Europe as possible, and we have found that living in Europe, unsurprisingly, helps us achieve that. Some aspects that make it this way is that in general, flights and trains are a lot cheaper than we're used to back home, and that with train travel specifically, the trains are much better and more connected than what we're used to back at home. This is nice for us because as we're trying to be more environmentally conscious, we're trying to travel by train or bus or other forms of public transit as much as possible. So it's nice to have the option to travel a lot more by train in Europe, whereas traveling by train in North America is not nearly as good. Number two thing that we love about living here is that we are able to live really well without having a car. Obviously, there are exceptions in North America to this. There are plenty of people in New York City and in Toronto and other major cities that don't have a car, but in our experience, in a lot of North American cities, it's pretty hard to do that. I found that in the places that we visited, that cities seem to be a lot more walkable and well connected by at least reasonable public transit. I find North America is a much more car-centric society, and particularly when I was taking the bus to work in Seattle, at times when Tyler needed the car, because we shared one car, people looked at me like I was absolutely insane. One, people thought it was nuts that Tyler and I were two people that shared a car, and that most North Americans I know have one car per person. And then there were more questions about whether using public transit was as safe there, whereas I feel like here that's not a question that people have. People aren't as baffled or flabbergasted by the idea of us walking to work or taking the bus. So I find that that's a nice change. Number three is the NHS, or for those unfamiliar, the National Health Service. Tyler and I both work in the NHS and we receive healthcare through the NHS. We like it as patients because after living in the US for a couple of years and constantly having anxiety about whether going on a doctor's visit would necessarily be covered as in-network or out-of-network from our insurance company and all this other nonsense that we had to deal with, all this stuff that sounds completely normal to Americans and sounds absolutely bonkers and insane to the rest of the world, it's been a nice transition to leave all of that and just have a very simple, straightforward health service. Number four. All right, this is such a stupid one. You guys are gonna be thinking, why is he including this? But I was actually really kind of excited when I discovered this, is that all toothpaste, at least to my knowledge, in Europe meets TSA guidelines for flying. So what that means is that you don't have to worry about buying travel-size toothpaste versus regular toothpaste. Number 5 is not entirely surprising. It's the variety of cultures and experiences that you can have in Europe relatively close to each other. Just think of all the different cultures and languages and fascinating cities in Europe. Whereas think of North America, where it's slightly more homogeneous in terms of the languages spoken. So we've just loved that aspect of living in Europe. Number 6 is vegan options at mainstream restaurants. Now, just to clarify, Tyler and I are not vegan. We were vegan at one time, but we are not dedicatedly vegan, but we do enjoy eating a majority plant-based diet for a variety of reasons, for our health, for the environment, for animal welfare, etc., etc. Most restaurants that we've been to, there's often at least one vegan option, and we found that exciting and makes it a lot easier for people to experiment with that. Number 7, somewhat related to number 6, is that we find that people are generally a bit more environmentally aware, or at the very least supportive of people who are trying to live a more sustainable, low-impact lifestyle on the environment than people that we've encountered back home in North America. People that I interact with here are more likely to talk about climate change. I've yet to meet anyone who denies the existence of it. So I do appreciate that people are more likely to talk about those things here. They're more likely to talk about things that they themselves are trying to do or that the government is doing to do better in terms of sustainability and improving the environment. Number 8 for things that we love since we've moved here is we love how nice Belfast is. And the reason why I included this is because we came in with fairly low expectations based on both people from outside Belfast who just associate Northern Ireland with violence and the Troubles, and people within Northern Ireland who just think Belfast is a really boring city. We love Belfast, as we've talked about in our video of top 10 experiences in Ireland. And that's been a really fun, pleasant surprise for us. Number 9 is gin culture. So just for a bit of reference, Tyler and I have been gin fans for many years, and in North America, we were often looked at kind of funny for that. I feel like not a lot of people in North America like gin, but here, gin is huge, and it's actually a huge trend right now. And when we arrived here and found out how big of a thing gin was, to the point where most restaurants have what's called Ginuary in January, is when we kind of discovered that these are our people. Finally, number 10, things that we love since moving here. This is kind of a funny, minor one, but I find that TV shows and entertainment are a lot easier for us to find and access, considering that for years we haven't lived with TV or cable and usually rely on things like Netflix and watching things online in order to watch TV. And we found that in the UK, it's a lot easier for us to watch a lot of the shows that were a bit harder for us to watch back in North America without cable or other subscription services other than Netflix. So for example, 2 shows that we enjoy are RuPaul's Drag Race, which is on Netflix here, and then another show that we love to watch is The Handmaid's Tale, which here is available on basic TV on what's called Channel 4 here, and we can watch it for free online. So we love that we can watch more of our favorite TV shows more easily. Alright guys, so that is it for our video about things that we have loved since moving from North America here to Europe. Let us know in the comments down below if there's anything that you love about where you live, and stay tuned for future videos. See you guys next week. Bye!